How to find the gradient between 2 points. The previous video on gradient, we looked at how to find the gradient of a line on a graph. So in the last video we had a straight line A to B and we drew a triangle. We looked at how to get from this point to this point by looking at how we travelled in the x direction and how we travelled in the y direction, and the gradient is always the difference in your y divided by your difference in x. So in this particular example, my gradient would be 3 divided by 5, and I can leave that as a fraction. Today, we're going to be looking at how we can find the gradient of 2 points when I don't have a graph. So if we look at these 2 points here, A to B, I need to look at the difference of y and divide it by the difference in x. So I don't actually need the straight line to figure this out. If I start with the B point here and I subtract from my B point, so if I do 5, subtract 1, that's 4, and divide it by 6, subtract 2 is 4, and 4 divided by 4 is going to give me 1. So the gradient of line AB would be 1. I have summarized those points on your screen now. You can see that I have 2 coordinates on the screen. I've labelled the one on the left as x1, y1 and the second one as x2, y2. And to find the gradient of these 2 points, I would need to pick a coordinate that I subtract from. So in this particular example, I've subtracted from this first one here. I've done y1, subtract y2, and I need to make sure I do the same in my denominator. So I need to subtract from this x coordinate. x1, subtract x2 here. Let's have a look at example together. So to find the gradient between these 2 points, 1, 4 and 3, 12, I need to pick a coordinate that I want to subtract from, and I'm going to pick this one on the right here. So gradient is the difference in y divided by the difference in x. So let's do 12, subtract 4, divided by 3, subtract 1. Be careful and note how I've also subtracted from the 3 here. Common mistake is a lot of students do 12 subtract 4 and then they might do 1 subtract 3. Remember that you need to subtract from the same coordinate. 12 subtract 4 is 8, 3 subtract 1 is 2, and simplifying that, 8 divided by 2 gives us a gradient of 4. Example 2, I want to go through an example where I have a negative coordinate. Okay, this time round, I want to subtract from this coordinate on the left-hand side. So I need to do negative 4, subtract 2, divided by negative 1, subtract 2. Negative 4 subtract 2 is negative 6. Negative 1 subtract 2 is negative 3. When you divide two negatives, you get a positive number. So the gradient of this line is 2. I want to show you how you get the same answer if you decided to subtract from the coordinate on the right. So let's do 2, subtract negative 4, and 2, subtract negative 1. 2 subtract negative 4, when you subtract a negative number, that's the same as adding this number here. So that becomes 2 plus 4, which is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. That gives us a gradient of positive 2, which is the same as on the left-hand side. So you can see it doesn't matter which coordinate you subtract from, as long as you do the same for your denominator.